Is the 2018 MacBook Pro worth an upgrade over the 2017? Let's go ahead and explore that in this video, guys. Everything you need to know about this machine. What's up, guys? I just got back from my trip. Sorry, I'm a little late on this one, but the 2018 MacBook Pro is here, and I just got it in the fully loaded spec. This is with all but max out storage. So we've got the 2.9 gigahertz i9 processor, 8th generation, and it is a new 6-core processor on the 15-inch. It's kind of crazy. I mean, out of nowhere, Apple went and updated this thing beyond my expectations. It's now got DDR4 RAM up to 32 gigabytes, new graphics cards from AMD, the new Radeon 555 and 560X. So huge upgrades here. Let's go ahead and see, just how it is. Is it worth updating to from a 2016, 2017 era MacBook Pro? I'll be running some tests, just really giving you a very clear and concise picture of what's changed. There's so much that's different, a lot that you may not even expect. I mean, the speakers have been upgraded, the batteries have been made beefier, and I just want to talk about how that all reflects into the actual usability. First off, I usually get a new MacBook Pro every year and then either sell my old one or just repurpose it as just like a rendering machine. And I think that's what I'll be doing this year, but I'm not entirely convinced that, I want to stick with it. It is a huge upgrade, but just how much is it over the 2017? And I know most people won't be upgrading from last year's model because it's so similar, but if you have a much older machine, it probably will be worth it. Okay, so here it is. I got this one in the space gray finish. This one came out to just under $4,000 with the 1 terabyte of memory, 3,700 to 3,800, I believe. And believe it or not, there's actually a lot that's different. It weighs almost the same as the 2017 model, but there's a lot that's changed on the inside. And iFixit did an entire teardown and gave us an idea of what's different. And they actually shaved some weight off in some areas of the casing and then added bigger batteries, and that made up for it. And as you can see, it boots up right away here. So, from just looking at it, not much has changed. And I believe that goes for the back too. So there's that. Yeah, looks just like it, feels just like the old one. But the biggest change you're going to notice right away are the keys. So the keys are somewhat more subtle. There's a new gasket, silicone gasket, beneath the key itself to keep dust out. The whole issue with the keyboards Apple is having, that's no longer going to happen with this 3rd generation butterfly keyboard. Okay, so listen to this. You can actually hear how clickety-clackety that one is. This one's a lot more subtle. Yeah, feels a little bit better. Tactical response just feels a little bit softer. I do like that. While that's setting up, just wanted to mention that the actual power adapter got an upgrade as well. Internally, iFixit tore it down and they found that there's a lot of extra padding inside. It's been reworked a little bit, so possibly more efficient, more safe against falls and drops and the such. So that's even been updated. I mean, there's a lot of changes. I'm actually curious to see if we'll get a different reading here. So exactly in the middle, let's see how loud this keyboard gets. This is the 2017. I'm getting 55.9 decibels. And let's try again on this one. Yeah, so 54.4. Oh, wow, that one jumped to 57.6. Wow, quite a difference. So I'm getting between 4 to 5 difference in decibels between the two. Okay, let's go ahead and test the Touch ID speeds. This has the new T2 chip, which is more secure, but is it faster? All right, in 3, 2, 1. So about the same, but let's try that once more. 1, 2. Okay, maybe a fraction of a second faster, but I really wouldn't say it is considerably faster. Okay, so next up, just wanted to check out True Tone. This is the same feature as on the iPhones and on the iPads, where it adjusts the color temperature of the display depending on your ambiance. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and disable it, and we're gonna see on the same screen what it looks like on both of these. So I'm not getting really much of a difference. Maybe the screen is getting a little bit warmer. But out here, there's really not much, so I'm gonna have to change up the environment. All right, and here's a better representation of True Tone. So it's working over here. It's a little bit icier of an image, slightly more gray. Here we can see the pink hues come out. So this is a better representation of the room I'm in right now. And it's such a subtle, nice thing to have, but really not important. And I don't think it should really be a factor in upgrading to the 2018 MacBook. It's just one of those things that are nice to have, but I wouldn't pay more money to get it. Next up, I want to test the speakers. So on the 2018 model in the iFixit teardown, they found that they're actually narrower but taller. So it's a little larger of a speaker module itself. Let's see if that translates to the actual decibel output or how it sounds. So I'm going to start with 21 Pilots' new song on this one here. All right, so that's what I'm getting here, 93.4 decibels on the 2017 model. So just 0.3, 0.4 higher than the 2017. I'll tell you though, it does sound a little bit better. Like it's a little bit more booming, not as tinny sounding, and by no means does the 2017 sound bad. It's actually one of the best speakers I've ever heard on a laptop. So this one just improves it, seems to fine tune it just a little bit, but as you can see, decibel wise, it really hasn't changed. All right, so let's go ahead and start some benchmarks. Now this isn't entirely fair because I did update this one to macOS Mojave. It's on beta 4 and I've been using it, so I've got a lot of personal data on it, but still, I mean, it'll show us the disparity between a well-used 2017 and a brand new 2018. I still want to do this. Now, I do want to start with a startup shutdown test, but before that, I just want to summarize what we've got going on here. This is a 6-core, 2.9 gigahertz processor, and this is the 8th generation processor with 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. The biggest upgrade in like 7 years. And over here, we've got 3.1 gigahertz, 4-core, 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM, so considerably slower here. All right, and here we go in 3, 2, 1, and they should be off. So start them at the same time. Apple logo appears here faster, and wow, that one's already up there. So this has considerably faster SSD, the fastest in any laptop nowadays, which is quite impressive. This one does have a lot more data on it though. But, oh wow, very, very close. This one actually started up first. I'm actually surprised by that, but it may be because of macOS Mojave that optimized the startup or something like that. So maybe this would be even faster once I updated it. All right, next up is a Geekbench. This one should be quite interesting. This should blow it away in the multi-core score. Single core score, I'm curious too to see, is it less because the clock speed is actually lower? Let's go ahead and run that. So there we go. And wow, look at that difference. The multi-core score jumps to 23,913, single 5,574. So a very considerable jump in between the processors. Of course, you have 2 additional cores, and even though the clock speed is slightly lower, you know, it still outdoes the 2017 with the 4-core. I am beyond impressed. So let's go ahead and see how that reflects to in actual video exports in Final Cut. All right, so very simple test. From my last video, I'm taking all of the raw footage and I'm basically just dropping it into a new timeline. So that's 23 minutes of 4K footage, and I'm going to do the same here. They're both running the latest Final Cut 10.4.3. So let's go ahead and wait for it to render. All right, file size is exactly the same. This is an H.264 format. So, okay, save and start on both of these. All right, so this one just finished at 13 minutes and 4 seconds, while this one is still going with 17% more to go. So I don't know yet for sure, but already I'm seeing a huge difference. I think it'll probably be between 3 to 5 minutes actually. So that is very considerable. Okay, and there's that one. So not as big of a difference as I thought, 2 minutes, but still that is quite considerable. People pay a lot of money just to see a 2-minute faster rendering difference on their professional machine. So if you guys are buying this thing for work, yes, it is considerably faster. If you're just buying this for day-to-day, maybe some light video editing, I really wouldn't spend the extra money just to upgrade from a 2017 to save 2 minutes on what, a 23-minute project. It doesn't really translate to a very, very big difference, you know, if you're not using it all the time. Okay, and my computer is seriously glitching. I have no idea what's going on right here. It's like a really, really slow motion animation after the rendering. What the heck? I've never had this before. Anyways, so next up, I want to go ahead and test that new SSD. What is going on? Are you serious? So all in all, I'd say definitely a 20% improvement in the write speed, slightly less on the read, but very, very fast. Okay, and of course, can't forget the GPUs. So I'm gonna go ahead and test those with Cinebench, and we've got the AMD Radeon 560 over here, the X version. So not a huge difference, but 15 frames per second higher in the OpenGL test on the 2018 version. All right, so after spending a few hours with this machine, my preliminary results are pretty dang good. It's very optimized. It's what the 2017 should have been with the DDR4 RAM, 32 gigabytes. Kind of sucks that Apple shafted us with that, but otherwise it's a fantastic machine. Should you upgrade from a 2017? No. In my my opinion, absolutely not. I mean, yeah, you do get that additional bit of performance, but you can put that money into a custom built machine or save your money for the next one later on. You know, if you're coming from a 2017, 2016 MacBook Pro, I would say it is not worth the upgrade, me personally. You know, for other people, the value that extra 20% in speed boost provides, you know, it may be more than for me, but honestly, I don't think I'll be keeping this machine. Maybe I will still use it for a couple days and see, but it's great. You know, the speakers sound a little bit crisper. Apparently the battery is bigger as well. Inside I fixed it in their teardown, saw that it is larger, but it does not provide more battery life. And actually through the duration of this test, it seems to be draining just as fast as the 2017 running all these tests and whatnot. Yes, the storage is faster, but it's nothing really that I can like capitalize on without like 20% improvement in speed. Otherwise, it's a fantastic machine. If it's your first one or upgrading from a really old MacBook, I'd say go for it 100%. If you're coming from a more recent one like a 2017, not worth it in my opinion. All right guys, so thanks for watching. There's my review of the 2018 MacBook Pro, a fantastic machine, refined in every single way seemingly by Apple, but not enough of an upgrade from the 2017 for myself personally. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope it was informative. I tried to test everything that was important to me, so hopefully you guys learned a thing or two you may have not known about this machine. Thanks for watching guys. Peace.